Hello and welcome to Mythical Meeples. Today I'll be reviewing Lady Tremaine from Despicable Plots for Disney Villainous. So Despicable Plots introduces us to three new villains: Gaston from Beauty and the Beast, Horned King from the Black Cauldron, and Lady Tremaine from Cinderella. The villains are varied in difficulty, making this great as an expansion for players with others from the villainous range, but less good if you're new to the game. For me, Despicable Plots is one of the weaker box sets alongside Bigger and Badder, and I'd recommend picking up Wicked to the Core, Evil Comes Prepared, or Perfectly Wretched first if you're looking for new villains to play. So Lady Tremaine. Lady Tremaine is a great character to play as. She doesn't defeat heroes in the usual sense, instead she can use Midnight to defeat all the heroes, or You Little Thief to defeat Cinderella. So Lady Tremaine is a very strong villain, but she is very much a villain that requires the dominoes to fall one by one to achieve victory. For example, you need to play Anastasia or Drusilla before you can play their counterparts, and you want to play Invitation from the King before Wedding Bells. Despite these obstacles, Lady Tremaine is very difficult to stop, as she has a lot of control over her fate deck and over her heroes. It's for this reason, out of easy, medium and hard, that I put Lady Tremaine in the easy category. As with my other villain reviews, I'll now be talking about my top 3 cards. Now these aren't necessarily ones that directly relate to victory, so for instance, Wedding Bells has to be activated for you to win, so obviously this is one of your essential cards. Likewise, Invitation from the King is needed to open the ballroom, which you need to achieve to win. More looking at, so the activated effect of the Invitation from the King could make that card one of its top 3. However, first card in my top 3 for Lady Tremaine is And One More Thing. So like some other villains, Lady Tremaine has a big emphasis on discarding cards as quickly as possible to achieve victory. To help you do this, you have And One More Thing. This is a condition card that you can play whenever another player takes a discard action. It allows you to discard cards from your hand and draw back up to 4 cards. So you should play this as soon as you can, because even if you discard nothing, you'll still get to draw back up to 4, and you'll be down to at least 3 cards through the use of this card. Any action that helps you discard and draw is really useful. Second card in my top 3 is Vicious Practical Jokes. So Vicious Practical Jokes is a great defensive card, giving you some control over your fate deck. It's a condition card that relies on you being the target of a fate action, which is guaranteed to happen at some point in the game. It can usually be used to nullify a fate action or severely reduce the impact of a fate action. For example, playing Gus has significantly less impact than playing Fairy Godmother. However, if you're in the early game, or if you've just played I Never Go Back on My Word, you may still wish to discard this to find other cards. So any card that gives you control over your fate deck, is really useful, and we see this with some of the other villains as well, such as Captain Hook, who has some control over his fate deck. This ties nicely in with my third and final card for the top 3, I Never Go Back on My Word. So I Never Go Back on My Word is another really strong card, allowing you to look at and order the top 4 cards of your fate deck. This would be strong in any villain's deck, as either the potential to nullify one or both of the next 2 fate cards against you, and it works very well with the previously mentioned Vicious Practical Jokes. It also synergizes well with Invitation from the King, as you can potentially use Invitation from the King to discard cards from your fate deck, such as the Fairy Godmother and Jack. So as you can see from these cards, Lady Tremaine has got a lot of defensive capabilities. If we look at her board as well, she also has quite a strong offensive capabilities. The ballroom starts locked, which means you'll be hopping between these 3 locations. Generally, I stick between Cinderella's room and the castle, as it allows me to discard cards, which means you should be fating your opponent every other turn. Potentially, if this gets covered up, you might then want to go to the music room or the castle instead. Likewise, if this gets covered, you might want to go to Cinderella's room and the music room instead as well. So while those are my top 3 cards, there are a few other cards that I want to do special mentions for. Lucifer. Again, Lucifer is a very good defensive card, capable of preventing fate actions from causing you too much harm. Lucifer traps heroes at its location preventing their ability from taking effect even when they're played. So by placing Lucifer on the same location as all your items, you prevent Jack from being used to discard them, which, if Jack's used to discard wedding bells, can really ruin your day. Lucifer also makes your opponents less willing to play heroes to Lucifer's location, as they want the hero's abilities to come into effect. So Lucifer, like the other cards that let you control your fate deck, gives Lady Tremaine very good defensive capabilities. Next up, I'm going to talk about a couple other special mentions which I mentioned briefly earlier on. Midnight and You Little Thief. So Midnight and You Little Thief are Lady Tremaine's only way of defeating heroes. You Little Thief is used for defeating Cinderella, but Midnight lets you defeat every hero in play. You want to save Midnight for when your opponent has played most, if not all, the heroes in your fate deck to get the most use out of it. I generally save Midnight for when my opponent has played Fairy Godmother on me, as she also plays Ball Gown Cinderella, both of which make it incredibly difficult or impossible to win with, as they prevent the movement of Ball Gown Anastasia and Ball Gown Drizella into the ballroom. In the early game, however, you may want to discard both Midnight and You Little Thief, because you should have more control over your fate deck, but hang on to them later in the game. It's for these reasons that these cards haven't made it into my top 3, because early game they're just not that useful, and later on it's really situational depending on whether or not you've seen Vicious Practical Jokes, or I never go back on my word. So thank you for watching, I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you for your continued support. If you're here watching this, it's because you've chosen to pay a little bit of money to subscribe to me, so thank you so much for all of your support. I couldn't do this without you. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.